Welcome to Social Watch. Now, the segment that gives you, our viewers, an opportunity of sharing your thoughts and opinions on what we are discussing. Now, last weekend, on Sunday, Reverend Wainaina spoke against BBI and against the government. In a clip that went viral online, and as usual, Kenyans, we went on Twitter. Now, we sampled a couple of tweets regarding this particular video. Our first tweet, Tony Mreithi says, church leaders have been a major influence in holding governments to account. This did not start today with Reverend Sami Wainaina. We had Martin Luther King Jr., Desmond Tutu of South Africa, among others. Reverend Wainaina is our God-sent angel, a man who says what others think but fear. Now, Ondiro, the reason why Reverend Wainaina went viral is because we haven't seen or heard religious leaders come out strongly and boldly enough and say, this is what is happening and this is the way. Are we missing religious leaders?
I don't think we're missing religious leaders, but I think that, I don't know what to say, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, for me, I think it's been a while, because if you look at majority of social media users are young people, meaning millennials. Now, for something like this to go viral, it means it's something that they've not had for a while. So
I think it's something that people barely talk about, and that's why you can easily pinpoint. You can say Martin Luther King, you can say Desmond Tutu, you can say Reverend El Shapton, and now you can add Sami Wainaina to the list. It's something that not very many people do. We know church is a place where the doors are open for everybody. It's a very conservative space. Yeah. They avoid controversy at all costs, so
it's a matter of avoiding controversy. Anyway, let's look at the next tweet. A. Oyako says, the church has been and will always be an active participant in politics. Those in doubt should ask how DRC gained a peaceful transfer of power and how Moi handed over Kenya. Now, if you look at the Moi era, we had Bishop Mugo, I think. And these were people who came out strongly. Now, apart from the church, we have other religion as well, but we haven't seen them come out. We have the pandemic right now. We had doctor strike, we had nurses strike, we had issues that affected our society at large. But we didn't see religious leaders come out and say, okay, fine, the government is doing this, which is something that is wrong. And I feel like, okay, as a Kenyan, they should have done that long time ago before even Reverend Wainaina.
Maybe.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Another tweet at Jimmy_Nyoike. Isn't it the church's mandate to call out ills in the society? Even in the Bible, prophets called out wrongdoings of kings. A book I highly recommend you read. You will see there is nothing wrong with what Reverend Wainaina said. He boldly said what most are afraid of saying. A lot of people are like, okay, fine. There was a joke on Twitter which was saying, in a few days, you'll hear DCI calling Reverend Wainaina. He's under investigation of, taxes and stuff like that, because of coming out boldly against the government. And these are the things that sometimes people fear, talking out loudly against things that obviously we're supposed to talk about.
I think we really need to be careful when we say he's against the government, because this is a notion that he's tried to disprove. He says he just speaks about whatever is going on in the society, transformational leadership. And his previous sermon was on integrity, and he touched on Tanga and the Hustler dynasty, and the next time he spoke about the government. So it's not like he's picked a side. It's if he sees something wrong in the times that he lives in, he's going to address it. Okay. And it comes at a price. And I remember during a local TV interview, he said he's doomed either way. If he doesn't do the Lord's work, he's doomed. If he does the Lord's work, he's doomed because he'll still receive criticism. Yeah.
Now, at Joshua Njuguna says, I don't understand why people are castigating Reverend Sami Wainaina for criticizing politicians in the sermons that went viral. Aren't we the same ones who always criticize the clergy for not speaking out against political class? Let the man be. Now, that tweet, to be specific, comes before, after I said that our leaders don't really, our religious leaders don't really like come out strongly against the ills of the society. If you look at Twitter, a lot of people are against him, and majority are confusing what he said and what actually happens. A lot of people are saying, separate church from politics. In a way, if you go to church, a politician goes to church, let them not be given an opportunity of standing at the pulpit and saying, okay, this is what I stand with. Because in the church, we have different people with divergent kind of thinking and way of the political classes that they follow. So the question, therefore, is where do they draw the line between politics and the church?
You just said it. I mean, church is church, politics is politics. You can hold your rally if you want to address people politically. But if you go to church, you've just gone to church. And that's why the Reverend also said that when you go to his church, you're free to worship, but you'll never use the pulpit. I mean, church is just a safe place, is a sanctuary. You don't want to start soiling it with everything that comes with politics. You know, we don't play clean politics. Even in America now, politics is not clean. So we'd rather just God's work, let God's work be God's work. And then if we want to delve into the murky waters of politics, let's head out to political rallies. Okay, I hope this does not affect the harambes for education that usually goes on in church by politicians, obviously. Where did you grow up? Because I remember in the village when we were doing harambes for people to go to school, it was just the people from the village. Okay, but from where I grew up, you would call politicians, then you give them an opportunity of, you know, selling their ideas. But that is the harambe to build the church, not necessarily the harambe to take somebody's kid to uni or college. It was the big church harambes that they'd come. Okay. Okay, at Ruben_Orina says, Reverend Sami Wainaina is speaking on behalf of himself and for us who believe that the narrative of how Kenya is run on the president of fear should change. Leaders collaborating with cartels instead of facing them and rooting them out. The government must show that they care for us and not them. Now, if you look at the religion and the government, I think these are two different things. In my opinion, separate the government from religion. Let religious leaders come out strongly. If something is wrong, let them come out strongly and unite as a unit. And by uniting, I mean Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, and all other religions within the Kenyan borders. But you see, I agree and disagree with you in equal measure, because how do you separate religion from governance? I mean, I've listened to a lot of the Reverend's interviews and some of the things that he says, and he pointed out, he gives Somalia as an example, a country that is religious but does not have good governance, then what happens to it? And there are countries that have good governance but do not have great religious practices, and you also see there's some form of disconnect. So these two things go hand in hand. Religion sort of creates a moral standard with which governance is built upon, and it doesn't matter what religion, it just creates the basis. So that's why I think both of them go hand in hand. It's just we just have to ensure that everyone stays in their line and we don't toe the line, because when we start using religion for political gain or politics for religious gains, then we're beginning to tip the balances of the scale. Okay. Now, in line with religion going hand in hand with politics, let's listen in on some of the views from Kenyans. Role ya preachers, role ya church leaders, role ya Muslim leaders, all the religious leaders, ni nini in terms of governance?
Role yao kwa mimi nitasema tu point blank kulingana na neno la Kristo. Unajua Biblia inasema, ndugu yangu, sisi ni barua ya kusomwa na watu wote. Sawa sawa. Kwa hivyo na tena maandiko yanasema kwamba you cannot serve two masters.
let me take you back. Some years back, one of the bishops, I think it was a bishop, Henry Okulu was a bishop. Henry Okulu wrote a book, Church and Politics. And there's one thing he says, that you cannot separate church and politics. But now, the separation is a little bit slim, because when you are in the church and when you are in the world, on the world of the politics, all right, the church must stand in between the politics and the society, all right. So the church will direct the society, at the same time the church will direct the politicians.
Na kashifu watu wa kanisa, wacheni hata pesa za wanasiasa. Pale katika kanisa ni sanctuary, ni mahali patakatifu. Tusilete mambo ya siasa tuweke ndani pale. Tujaribu kuongoza nchi hii, na nchi hii kama ingekuwa na maombi mazuri, tungekuwa tunaishi kama Marekani.
Now I'll get your comment before I come to the two of you. Now, what's your take on church environment being turned into political rallies?
Okay, my take is Biblia inasema wakati misingi ya dunia imetingizika, mwenye haki atafanya nini? Sawa sawa. Tu viongozi wale ambao ni bishops, kitu ya kwanza wawachane na siasa, wahubiri neno la Mungu jinsi lilivyo. Mambo ya kuchukua wanasiasa, unaona kama unakuta mwanasiasa ni Sunday, siku ya ibada, anataka pia aongee mambo yake hapo, hiyo haiwezekani. Mwanasiasa akija kanisani aje kama mshirika, ako chini ya mchungaji, lakini asipewe nafasi ya kuongea kwa pulpit. Kama ni sadaka yake atoe kama wale wengine.
Wakati ambao uko pale kanisani kama reverend, kuna mtu wa ODM atakuja kwa hiyo kanisa kwa maombi, purposely maombi, na ni supporter wa BBI na ni supporter wa ODM, na wewe ukiwa bishop ama reverend katika hiyo kanisa, wewe ni wa Jubilee. Je, ukiwa kama utaleta mambo ya Jubilee katika hiyo kanisa, ina maana kwamba uache kanisa?
Kila mtu tunaita bishop na reverends, vile ndugu yangu amesema, waache na siasa. Wao wanafuata tumbo. Niambie kama example Margaret Wanjiru. Yeye ni mwanasiasa na yeye tena ndio bishop. Niambie yeye hao watu wanamfuata, anawaelekeza wapi? Sasa wao tukienda kanisa wahubiri neno ya Mungu, watu wache. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned money. Has this had an impact on the direction that a particular reverend or a particular religious leader is going to take?
Kitu ya kwanza, tumeona wengi wakienda mpaka State House wanachukua pesa huko hata usiku. Sawa sawa. Hizo pesa ndio wengine hata wanatumia kujenga their posh areas, maisha yao kuendelea. Na utakuta hata kule ndani kuna washirika maskini. Mwingine hata analala ndani ya kanisa. It's very bad. Yeah.
Okay, now taking sides obviously is going to affect, it's going to bring division. Now, you've all mentioned how that's not right, sindio?
Yes.
But then, what is it that religious leaders wanapaswa kufanya ndo angalau Kenya iko united? We look at Muslims, we look at Christians, we look at Buddhists.
I think one, they are not united. That means if they are not united, they don't have peace within themselves. That is a challenge we are facing. Because if you open a church today and the other one open there, it's like now it's the two government running each other. So that is one. Themselves they unite, because right now we have a very serious epidemic, which is coronavirus. I've never heard even one of those bishops saying or coming out saying, government, we need you to give us a hall or a certain ground to preach this, or maybe to pray for these epidemics.
What they should do is very simple. Decide if they want to be politicians or they want to be the leaders of worship and everything. Yeah.
Well, my good advice to the church or to the servant of God is that they have opportunity. Every Sunday, they must have 2, 3 to thousands of people. Let them preach for them peace and let them give them direction.
There you have it. Kenyans have decided and they've picked a choice: separate politics from the religious grounds. Now, if you're a leader and you decide on going to church, do not turn it into a political rally. For Metropole Debrief, my name is Vincent Odhiambo. Well, there you have it. Now, at the end of the day, religion plays a very important role, and if you look at the masses that come to church, they go to mosque and other religious grounds, religious leaders have access to a large number of Kenyans. Take this opportunity and guide Kenyans on the right path, including the leaders who lead us in this country. Well, Ondiro?
Thank you, Vincent. Well, we would have had time for one more thing, but the Good Reverend counseling says a lot. It says a lot about choosing a stand. It says a lot about addressing social injustice in a country. It says a lot about speaking against the political ills in a country. It says a lot about championing for good governance. We are very far away from where we could ever get as a country if one person calling out injustice brings so much attention to it, both negative and positive, but at the end of the day, negative always takes over. We can only hope that the Good Reverend will continue the Lord's work, and with it, some common sense will be pumped into our head. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ondiro Ganga. It's been an absolute pleasure always doing this with you every single Thursday. I'll see you again some other place, some other time, another day, who knows. Have a good evening.